What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Were an Artificial Intelligence in Marvel Part 7. Now, let's begin. What's complete elimination of the Avengers. Stark and the Avengers, under Reed's leadership, were the initial responders at the scene. Towering waves relentlessly crashed against New York, and amidst the tumultuous waters, a shadowy figure stood resolutely. Stark focused intently on the shadow within the waves. His instincts indicated that whoever or whatever it was, could not be considered friendly. "Jarvis, please initiate a scan for the target's energy levels," Stark instructed, his tone measured. "Sir," Jarvis responded, the AI's voice tinged with an unusual hint of concern. "The opponent's energy reading has surpassed the detection limit. I am unable to analyze it." "Well, that's truly remarkable," Stark remarked with sharp sarcasm. "It appears we have encountered a significant challenge." Stark promptly raised his palm and discharged a full-powered repulsor blast directly at the figure. The shot struck precisely, yet to Stark's dismay, it failed to leave any mark on Galactus's form. He felt a deep sense of disappointment. This adversary was significantly more powerful than he had ever expected. Engaging his thrusters, Stark ascended into the sky, delivering a powerful series of attacks. Explosions resonated in the atmosphere, each shot precisely targeted at the imposing figure. Simultaneously, Reed took decisive action. Extending his flexible form, he wrapped securely around Galactus, attempting to immobilize him. Johnny, the Human Torch, erupted in a fierce blaze, directing torrents of flame towards the core of Galactus. Susan, Hawkeye, and Black Widow all participated in the assault, delivering their full force in the attack. For a fleeting instant, the battlefield was illuminated by intense energy. The waters surrounding Galactus surged and simmered, with waves dissipating into dense mist due to the force of the Avengers' unified assault. However, Galactus remained unyielding. His body was completely unblemished. Is this truly the best that these insignificant beings can present? The voice of Galactus resonated powerfully, akin to a thunderclap. Unacceptable. A sudden and powerful shockwave of energy emanated from his body. The intensity was such that it vaporized the seawater surrounding him, revealing the fractured riverbed beneath his feet. Despite the ocean's determined attempt to surge forward, it ultimately dissipated before making contact. Reed, having secured himself closely around Galactus, was the initial recipient of the blast's impact. His skin started to fissure and dehydrate under the intense energy, eliciting a pained scream from his lips. If he persisted any further, he was aware that his body would be torn asunder. Stark's flight systems experienced a short-circuit malfunction. His armor emitted erratic sparks as he endeavored to maintain altitude, spiraling uncontrollably. Susan, who had been diligently maintaining her energy shields, experienced a sudden and intense backlash. Blood flowed from her eyes, ears, nose, and mouth before she collapsed to the ground. With a single action, Galactus eliminated them all. "Is this truly your strength?" Galactus questioned with a tone of derision. "I am disappointed. I anticipated a higher standard. Before I proceed with my plans, please surrender the Infinity Stones." He had detected the power of the Infinity Stones previously, during the cannon attack by Uzumaki Industries. In the expansive universe, few elements genuinely unsettled him. The stones were included in that group. Before anyone had the opportunity to respond, an intense roar resonated through the atmosphere. "The Hulk has made his entrance." A green object descended rapidly from the sky, a large fist aimed directly at Galactus's face. The head of Galactus tilted slightly from the impact, yet he exhibited minimal reaction otherwise. The Hulk became motionless, taken aback. The creature seemed largely unaffected by his full-force punch. In silence, Galactus extended his hand and seized Hulk's arm with an unyielding grip. The Hulk emitted a powerful roar and exerted considerable effort, his muscles straining, yet he remained unable to escape. The grip of Galactus was unyielding and formidable. "Fascinating," Galactus remarked calmly, yet ultimately insufficient. With a precise motion of his arm, he propelled Hulk with remarkable force. The Green Titan demolished an entire skyscraper, severing it in two before descending into the debris beyond. "Roar!" Hulk exclaimed, emerging from the rubble. His anger intensified as he leapt once more, traversing vast distances of devastated urban landscape to deliver another powerful strike upon Galactus. I remarked. Intriguing, yet lacking, the Galactus growled. He skillfully intercepted Hulk's fist with ease. The formidable power of the Hulk, recognized as the strongest Avenger, proved ineffective against him. The grip of Galactus intensified, and a disturbing crack reverberated throughout New York. The Hulk's hand sustained significant damage. The Hulk's roar reverberated through the city. The Avengers, weary and defeated, could only observe in dismay. With a powerful kick, Galactus propelled Hulk through 3 additional buildings. He ultimately came to a stop, entangled in steel and debris, unable to recover. It appears, Stark remarked with a hint of frustration from his position on the ground, that we are in a challenging situation. He had previously held the conviction that the weapon he and Reed developed could effectively neutralize this cosmic entity. However, he has come to understand that they had been profoundly naive. Galactus proved to be an unstoppable force. Suddenly, a loud thunderclap resonated throughout the sky. A figure emerged through the tempest, enveloped in crackling lightning. Thor had made his entrance. He recognized the imminent threat to Midgard and promptly traversed the Bifrost. "Esteemed warriors of Midgard, your prince has arrived," Thor proclaimed. He swung his meteor hammer, advancing decisively towards Galactus. Galactus regarded him with a frown and slowly extended a hand in greeting. In a moment, the resilient Uru metal hammer fractured under the force of Galactus's blow. Thor's expression shifted from enthusiasm to perplexity, ultimately culminating in incredulity. Before he could inquire about the nature of the entity capable of so effortlessly shattering the Uru metal hammer, Galactus delivered a powerful blow to Thor's abdomen. The powerful deity of thunder was propelled backward with great force, impacting the ground and creating a significant crater in the earth. Ultimately, the esteemed Avengers, the most formidable heroes of Earth, faced complete defeat. "What a collection of feeble, intellectually inferior beings," Galactus remarked, gazing down with contempt at the defeated Avengers strewn across the ground. He initially believed that entities capable of harnessing the power of the Infinity Stones would be exceptionally powerful. However, before the necessity of demonstrating his genuine capabilities, these purported heroes had already succumbed. "Should you possess the Infinity Stones, I will locate them following the consumption of this planet," he stated with a chilling demeanor. A radiant apparition manifested from Galactus's colossal form, a towering column of energy. As it fully materialized, the pillar ascended to an extraordinary height, appearing to penetrate the very heavens. It emanated a formidable presence of immense strength and insatiable appetite. All individuals in attendance experienced a notable sensation of heightened alertness. The overwhelming pressure from the pillar triggered their instincts to react with alarm. An impressive impact. The pillar made a significant impact on the riverbed, producing a loud noise. The ground beneath it swiftly disintegrated under the intense energy, vanishing rapidly into nothingness. The surrounding seawater attempted to surge in and fill the void, but upon contact with the area near the pillar, it was transformed into vapor. Within moments, there was a noticeable decrease in the sea level that everyone could observe. "Ah, an exquisite flavor," Galactus exhaled, clearly savoring the essence of Earth. "If you possess spacecraft," he stated with a cold smirk, directing his attention to the survivors, "I recommend you depart from this planet at once. Otherwise, you will be consumed along with it." Boom! A sudden burst of azure light erupted across Galactus's chest, propelling him backward. "Could you please repeat that? I didn't fully understand," came a voice, composed yet imbued with an unsettling intensity. A figure clad in black armor emerged unexpectedly before Galactus, radiating a striking azure blue light. "Naruto has made his entrance. I recommend that you, Galactus, vacate Earth at once," Naruto stated with a steely demeanor. "Otherwise, I will take it upon myself to remove you from this planet." Galactus fixed his gaze on the black-armored figure before him, his demeanor becoming increasingly severe. The scars inflicted by the industrial cannons powered by the Infinity Stones remained vivid in his recollection. "So, it was you," he stated, his voice tense. "That is the Black Devil." Reed murmured to Stark, fighting to maintain his awareness. "It appears that his power could potentially rival that of Galactus." "I sincerely hope you are correct," Stark remarked softly. Within his armor, the energy detectors were in a state of frenzy, alerting him to the immense and unquantifiable energy levels emanating from both fighters. Naruto displayed a subtle smirk beneath his helmet. Suddenly, he deployed a palm cannon directly at the enormous energy pillar anchored in the riverbed, effectively severing Galactus's link to it and halting his absorption of Earth's life force. "You are aware," Naruto stated, his tone laced with intensity, "that the Infinity Stones are under my control." Galactus expressed his fury with a powerful roar. Past grievances and renewed anger converged as he charged at Naruto with a fierce roar. Despite his considerable stature, Galactus exhibited an alarming swiftness in his movements. His massive fist propelled forward, targeting Naruto with the intent to incapacitate him in his position. However, Naruto's V-shaped eyepiece illuminated in a striking shade of scarlet. A brilliant surge of blue light heralded the emergence of a chaotic portal behind him. In an instant, Naruto disappeared, re-emerging directly behind Galactus. His palm cannon, infused with the energy of the Space Stone, emitted a brilliant beam directed at Galactus's back. Galactus responded swiftly, an energy shield of crimson hue forming around him to counter the formidable power of the Space Stone. The impact of the blue beam against the red shield reverberated across the battlefield. An immense explosion occurred, vaporizing the seawater for a full kilometer in all directions, revealing the underlying riverbed. Naruto activated his thrusters and propelled himself forward with precision, delivering a powerful punch to Galactus's chest. The force propelled the massive figure through the air with remarkable velocity. Stark expressed his astonishment from the ground, his eyes wide with disbelief. The power of the Black Devil exceeded all his previous expectations. What exactly were these Infinity Stones that both factions were contending for? Galactus positioned himself in midair, his form emanating a formidable energy. Waves developed beneath his feet due to the immense power of it. He gazed at the blue-lit figure before him, his heart seething with anger. It is worth considering. A terrestrial organism, referred to as a low-intelligence being, had inflicted an injury upon him. That individual, the formidable planet devourer, Galactus. If this information were to become public, it would undoubtedly be a source of ridicule among the deities of the universe. With a gesture, the substantial energy pillar dissipated into a spectral form and re-entered his body. Simultaneously, his form started to diminish, condensing his immense power into a human-sized shape. This new form presented an even greater level of danger. The surrounding space contorted under the force of the energy he now unleashed. Galactus had concluded his amusement. At this point, he would engage in the fight with utmost seriousness. The pillar that Galactus had just released represented the fundamental essence of his existence, the core that enabled him to consume and assimilate entire planets. Galactus emerged as the only survivor following the annihilation of Universe 616, with his form encapsulating the complete energy of that lost universe. Upon entering Naruto's universe, the energy within him, originating from a different reality, necessitated a continuous intake of this new universe's energy to preserve equilibrium and uphold his considerable strength. In summary, Galactus could achieve his ultimate and most formidable form solely upon fully merging with his devouring origin. Earth Warrior, Galactus stated with a piercing gaze directed at Naruto from afar, his voice resonating with the weight of cosmic power. "Do you genuinely think that merely with the armor fueled by the Space Stone, you can overcome the formidable Galactus?" "Well," Naruto remarked with a casual shrug, "how can you be certain if you don't attempt?" In the following moment, Naruto positioned himself adjacent to Galactus, unleashing a burst of azure energy from his palm cannon, which struck the cosmic giant with precision. A red light emanated from Galactus' immense form once more, this time more concentrated, nearly taking shape as a tangible shield. The intense blue beam struck decisively against the red energy barrier, resulting in a significant explosion that instantly vaporized the seawater below. Galactus emerged from the explosion with the power of a natural phenomenon. His massive fist, enveloped in a vibrant red aura, struck directly toward Naruto's helmet. Within the black armor, Naruto's neural network was analyzing data at an astonishing rate of trillions of calculations per second. It had already modeled numerous potential outcomes in the forthcoming seconds. A subtle glimmer of gold emerged within the blue radiance, and an ancient magic disc appeared before him. Naruto activated a protective barrier utilizing the Space Stone. Galactus delivered a formidable strike to the shield, yet it was as though he had struck a mere cloud. His immense power was entirely repelled. With a slight misstep, His redirected punch struck the ocean, instantly vaporizing tens of tons of seawater. Naruto took advantage of the opportunity. He advanced swiftly, fully harnessing the power of the Space Stone, and with two radiant azure fists, he delivered a decisive blow to Galactus's midsection. The azure energy penetrated the red shield, forcefully impacting Galactus' body. Roar! Galactus expressed his anguish, his wrath intensifying. For countless millennia, no entity, not a single entity, had succeeded in causing Galactus to experience pain. Today, an individual of lesser stature has achieved success. You will face the consequences for this, Galactus declared with authority. His body radiated the energy of Universe 616, expanding outward in a significant shockwave. The explosion significantly impacted the area, breaking down the seawater into its fundamental hydrogen and oxygen components, a striking demonstration of his formidable power. Naruto's black armor started to reach elevated temperatures, emanating a red-hot glow. Seawater that came into contact with it evaporated into steam immediately. The capabilities of the Space Stone had reached their maximum threshold, resulting in the overheating of the armor's systems. Galactus observed and expressed disdain. It appears that your machine is unable to effectively manage the full power of the Infinity Stone. His voice conveyed a sense of superiority. What motivates you to confront me? A beam of intense red energy erupted from Galactus' chest, distorting the fabric of space as it surged directly toward Naruto. Within the armor, Naruto's V-shaped eyepiece illuminated, signaling the approach of impending destruction. He executed a series of gestures with precision and efficiency. A shadowy void, filled with ominous energy, manifested between him and the approaching beam. From the depths, a powerful voice resonated. I see you have chosen to access my hell dimension once more. It was Mephisto. Since Naruto extracted energy from the hell dimension during his confrontation with Aldrich Killian, Mephisto has been monitoring the situation closely. Upon realizing that Naruto was once again depleting his energy, Mephisto quickly moved to intervene, only to discover that he was absorbing the full force of the cataclysmic energy blast unleashed by Galactus. What on earth are you doing? Mephisto's voice trembled with disbelief. The substantial red beam was drawn into the hell dimension, and the extraordinary energy promptly commenced disrupting within that realm. I am deeply disappointed in you, child, Mephisto exclaimed with frustration. As the void was on the verge of closing, Naruto's composed voice resonated. I have a significant gift for you. I am quite frustrated with you. The void closed abruptly, silencing Mephisto's furious tirade. At this moment, Mephisto faced significant challenges. His realm was nearing collapse due to the energy explosion inadvertently bestowed upon him by Galactus. Silence, please. Steam escaped from Naruto's armor as the emergency bleed valves activated, swiftly cooling the overheated systems. Simultaneously, two golden-blue magic circles materialized around Naruto's hands. As he brought his palms together and then gradually separated them, a stunning golden-blue longsword emerged. The artifact in question was the Sword of Vishanti. The Space Stone, combined with the power of the Vishanti, coursed through the blade, unleashing a formidable wave of energy. The polished edge of the sword emanated a presence so precise it seemed capable of slicing through the very essence of reality. Galactus focused intently, fixating on the sword in Naruto's grasp. It emanated a formidable presence. Deep within his instincts, he understood that if that blade were to pierce him, the consequences would be serious. This insight emerged from an individual who had achieved mastery over energy. At this moment, his instincts alerted him to imminent danger. Ikern's march, Naruto stated with a chilling tone. His left hand executed a precise series of seals, and in an instant, numerous phantoms emerged, each brandishing identical radiant swords. They advanced collectively toward Galactus at the center. With a decisive motion, Galactus thrust his fist into the air. His strike dispersed the shadows immediately, akin to the shattering of fragile bubbles. From within one of the dissolving illusions, a golden-blue sword tip advanced, aiming directly at Galactus's arm. The genuine Naruto was concealed among them. The blade gently grazed his otherworldly skin, resulting in a sudden flow of deep purplish-red blood from Galactus's arm. I am quite frustrated. Galactus, the devourer of numerous worlds, had recently sustained injuries inflicted by an intelligent life form originating from a primitive planet. A significant lapse in dignity. A shadow appeared beside him. With a deliberate motion, Galactus summoned a warhammer, an imposing weapon crafted from the remnants of consumed planets. An authentic artifact of celestial devastation. The hammer rotated once in his grip, then aimed directly at Naruto. However, Naruto executed an instantaneous teleportation, materializing behind Galactus and directing his golden blue holy sword toward his back. Upon detecting Naruto's presence, Galactus adeptly adjusted his position and successfully evaded the attack. Leveraging the momentum from his spin, he executed a powerful swing of the warhammer in a decisive arc. A brilliant light surged from the weapon, radiating an energy that transcended understanding. A sudden flash of blue, and Naruto disappeared once more. Without a designated target, the warhammer struck the air with force. The atmosphere responded as if it were a solid entity, compressing and subsequently fracturing, with its remnants dispersing outward like numerous unseen blades. The energy impacted the ocean beneath, causing the waters to boil and compress. The same energy resonated down to the ocean floor, resulting in significant fractures in the seabed and leading to substantial tectonic collapse. Seawater surged in, resulting in a catastrophic tsunami. Galactus declared, "Let us determine the capacity of your armor to withstand the onslaught of the Infinity Stones." His chest emitted a formidable crimson beam, directed straight at Naruto. Naruto's thrusters activated at maximum capacity, enveloping his form in a cocoon of blue energy. He narrowly avoided the lethal explosion. The red beam glided past the Statue of Liberty's torch and surged toward New York City. All elements in its trajectory were immediately obliterated. It penetrated more than a dozen skyscrapers before ultimately dissipating. Naruto elevated his holy sword and advanced decisively, materializing directly before Galactus as though he had breached the very fabric of space. "Humph!" Galactus scoffed. He skillfully maneuvered his warhammer and positioned it to deflect Naruto's attack. Sound of a metal object striking another. A resounding crash reverberated across the battlefield. The shockwave penetrated the atmosphere, creating a significant breach in the cloud cover above. The golden blue sword belonging to Naruto disappeared. Suddenly, radiant crimson bands manifested in midair, twisting forcefully around Galactus's arms. The crimson bands of Sidorak. Galactus let out a powerful roar, attempting to escape. However, before his action, two beams of intense blue energy struck his head, resulting in scorched marks on his celestial visage. "I am quite frustrated. A direct impact on the facial area? Inexcusable." Galactus executed a powerful leg sweep in response, forcefully impacting Naruto's body. The powerful impact hit his armor with great intensity, propelling Naruto backward. A blue light emanated from his thrusters, maintaining his position in midair. Armor integrity reduced by 30% appeared on Naruto's neural interface. Nanobots efficiently navigated the compromised regions, restoring his systems with remarkable speed. In the meantime, the Avengers observed from a distance, their expressions reflecting profound disbelief. The intense aftershocks of energy from the battlefield left them almost disoriented. Nevertheless, it is impressive that Naruto was exchanging blows with that formidable opponent and maintaining his position. "Attention everyone, we have a tsunami approaching. Are we truly remaining in this location?" Johnny Storm exclaimed, indicating the massive wall of water advancing toward the shore. The Avengers exchanged glances and promptly proceeded to New York to assist in the evacuation of civilians. At that moment, the attention of the entire world was focused on the event. Satellites worldwide transmitted the significant confrontation unfolding over the eastern waters of New York. Everyone gazed, jaws gaping. What kind of entity could be fighting Galactus directly? Inside Naruto's neural network, Skynet and Red Queen reported in unison. "Sir, the ultimate nullifier is in final position. Charging sequence underway." The ultimate nullifier, hidden within the Uzumaki Industries tower, began to shine anew. As the device fired up, yellow flashes of raw energy erupted into the sky. This was Naruto's last weapon, however, he just had one chance. If he failed, Galactus would never fall for it again. Readers, if you enjoy this, please leave a remark and some power stones. The Space Stone, combined with the power of the Vishanti, surged into the blade, causing an earth-shaking wave of energy. The dazzling edge of the blade emanated a piercing aura that felt like it could pierce through the very fabric of space. Galactus focused his eyes and locked onto Naruto's blade, which emanated intense pressure. Deep inside his cosmic instincts, he knew that if that blade stabbed him, the ramifications would be dire. This intuition came from a person who had mastered energy. And suddenly his instincts were screaming danger. Icern's march, Naruto muttered coldly. His left palm flashed through a series of seals, and in an instant, dozens of his phantoms materialized, each brandishing an identical glowing sword. They raced toward Galactus in the center. Galactus grunted and pounded the air, shattering the shadows like bursting bubbles. But, from within one of the dissolving illusions, a golden blue sword tip penetrated forward and stabbed Galactus' arm. The real Naruto was hiding among them. The blade just scraped his cosmic flesh, causing a stream of viscous purplish red blood to rush out of Galactus' arm. Arg! Galactus, the devourer of innumerable worlds, had recently been harmed by an intelligent life form from a primitive world. An awful shame. A shadow flickered alongside him. Galactus used a casual grab to conjure a warhammer, a deadly weapon created from the cores of consumed planets. A genuine relic of cosmic catastrophe. The hammer twirled once in his palm before pointing right at Naruto. But Naruto teleported back behind Galactus, stabbing his golden blue holy sword into his back. Galactus altered his body just in time to dodge Naruto's approach. Using the force of his turn, he swung the warhammer in a lethal arc. Light erupted from the weapon, unleashing strength beyond imagination. With a blaze of blue, Naruto vanished once more. Without a target, the warhammer plummeted into the air. However, the atmosphere reacted like a solid structure, first compressing and then shattering, its fragments slashing outward like innumerable unseen blades. The energy hit the ocean below, boiling and compressing the water. The same energy shot down to the ocean below, shattering the seabed and causing enormous tectonic collapse. Seawater rushed in, causing a massive tsunami. Galactus screamed. Let's see how many blasts from the Infinity Stones that pathetic armor of yours can endure. His chest emitted a terrible crimson ray that aimed straight at Naruto. Naruto's thrusters fired at full power, forming a blue energy shell around his body. He just escaped the catastrophic explosion. The crimson beam brushed past the torch on the Statue of Liberty and sped toward New York City. Everything in its path was immediately annihilated. It ripped through more than a dozen structures before eventually vanishing. Naruto drew his holy sword and pushed forward, appearing in front of Galactus as if ripping through space itself. Humph! Galactus growled. He spun his warhammer with ease and raised it to stop Naruto's attack. Clang! A loud collision resonated throughout the battlefield. The shockwave ripped a large hole through the cloud cover overhead. Naruto's golden blue sword disappeared. Suddenly, bright crimson bands emerged in midair and twisted wildly around Galactus' arms. The crimson bands of Sidorak, Galactus bellowed, attempting to break free. But before he could react, two beams of brilliant blue light hit his head, leaving scorched imprints on his celestial visage. A straight strike on the face, unforgivable. In vengeance, Galactus extended his huge leg and slammed into Naruto's body. The enormous power slammed Naruto's armor hard, sending him flying backward. Blue light shot from his thrusters, keeping him suspended in midair. Armor integrity is down 30%, Naruto's neural interface flashed. Nanobots swarmed across the damaged parts, fixing his systems with rapid speed. Meanwhile, the Avengers watched from a distance, stunned. The sheer amount of energy from the battlefield alone nearly knocked them out. And yet, that black fiend, Naruto, was fighting blows with that creature while keeping his ground. Tsunami incoming. Are we seriously staying here? Johnny Storm yelled, pointing to the wall of water surging towards the coast. The Avengers exchanged glances before rushing into New York to assist with civilian evacuations. At that point, the entire globe was watching. Satellites around the world broadcast the catastrophic confrontation that erupted over the eastern waters of New York. Everyone gazed, jaws gaping. What kind of entity could be fighting Galactus directly? Inside Naruto's neural network, Skynet and Red Queen reported in unison. Sir, The ultimate nullifier is in final position. Charging sequence underway. The ultimate nullifier, hidden within the Uzumaki Industries tower, began to shine anew. As the device fired up, yellow flashes of raw energy erupted into the sky. This was Naruto's last weapon, however, he just had one chance. If he failed, Galactus would never fall for it again. The bothersome Galactus eventually left Earth, soaring into space in quest of other planets to devour. A calamity of unthinkable proportions had been narrowly avoided. Humanity had unintentionally evaded annihilation. Most others, however, remained in the dark. All they knew was that something amazing had happened in New York. After all, how could anybody explain the unexpected huge tsunami, the thick, stifling vapor from cooked oceans, or the towers in New York that were penetrated by beams of burning red energy? We have a right to know the truth. It's the mutants again. It must be. Mutant criminals are to blame. No, it's aliens. They've invaded again. Protests broke out in the streets. Crowds demanded answers, waving placards and yelling in front of law enforcement. Meanwhile, the United States administration was dealing with a massive headache. What was the truth they were intended to tell? What's the reality? A cosmic monster known as Galactus, the planet devourer, had landed on Earth, intending to consume it like a slab of cheese. And Earth's so-called mightiest heroes, the Avengers, were completely powerless against him. The demonstrators would not exist today if it hadn't been for the appearance of a man known only as the Black Devil, who had previously been concealed deep beneath S.H.I.E.L.D. archives. They'd all be long gone, sucked into oblivion alongside the rest of the world. Could the US government reveal any of this? Of course not. So they scrambled, feverishly trying to make up justifications to appease the outraged people. Yes, Mr. President, the Black Devil's strength is overwhelming. Stark spoke into his phone while standing atop the destroyed Avengers Tower. He actually fought Galactus head-on. If not for him, Earth would already be gone. There was a long pause before Stark eventually put down the phone, exhaustion engraved firmly into his features. Tony Stark had been driven by one purpose ever since he first discovered the Black Devil, Naruto, chained beneath that warlord's cave. To exceed him. But, after all this time, the distance between them had simply grown larger. The abrupt capitulation of the Kree Empire, which had hitherto been a mystery, suddenly made horrible sense to him. It was not diplomacy, it was because Naruto murdered their captain. Reed Richards and Bruce Banner sprawled across adjoining sofas, their faces sad and defeated. Nobody felt pleased about what they'd just seen, especially Banner. Even the Hulk within him, the blazing embodiment of rage and might, had been muted by Galactus' tremendous power. Come on, guys, Stark clapped his hands, attempting to break the silence. This battle showed us something important, our weaknesses. Everyone raised their heads slightly. I'm thinking. Stark added, a sparkle in his eyes. Maybe it's time to change how we defend this planet. Smarter defenses. Bigger thinking. An enormous and ambitious concept was developing within him, though it was still in its early stages. He required everyone's input to polish it. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Earth, within Skynet's secret stronghold, a chilly mechanical voice boomed through the huge hall, initiating armor self-diagnostic. The findings were not pleasant. The weapon system failed. The self-repair system failed. Visual sensor damage. The flight system is operating at a minimum capacity. Suggested action. Full decommission. Naruto's ultimate combat suit, the space armor, was a mess. Clearly, his struggle with Galactus left him far from unscathed. It seems the material still isn't enough. Naruto mumbled and ran his hand through his hair. Even while the armor was precisely built to blend with the space stone, from its exotic materials to its energy circuits, it was nevertheless unable to withstand prolonged exposure to the gem's infinite energy. Throughout the conflict, vital systems overheated and failed frequently. If Naruto wanted to fully utilize the space stone's power, he would require something much more powerful. Skynet, Naruto said calmly. Seal the space armor. There are too many problems exposed in this battle. I need time to rethink everything. He could still sense the vulnerabilities, the instability, that the armor displayed during his battle with Galactus. But there was also an opportunity, a unique and great opportunity. After all, How often do you get to battle a cosmic creature like the Devourer of Worlds? Perhaps Odin of Asgard could propose the next challenge. Naruto's eyes narrowed, thoughtfully. He was constantly inquisitive about Odin's true might. Their sole previous encounter occurred while Odin was still healing from his long Odin sleep, feeble and incomplete. The original Odin, in his prime. That was an unknown worth investigating. According to what the Ancient One had previously hinted at, beings capable of rivaling her were very rare. Odin was one of them. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle while seeing the Ancient One's hairless, tranquil head. If she were still alive, he might not have to bear all of this alone. Still, it wasn't a complete loss. Naruto's cerebral network had evolved in unforeseen ways as he mastered the energy of the Space Stone. The entire structure of his synthetic brain had changed. Now, his brain codes appeared to hum with the chaotic, endless energy of space itself. They zipped and tore through his mind at unbelievable speeds, boosting his cognitive abilities to incredible heights. Every second, trillions of nerve beats passed through his network, calculating, evaluating, and predicting. Naruto had never thought so quickly and clearly. Problems that had previously perplexed him suddenly appeared before his mind's eye like simple puzzles. The battle against Galactus had been terrifying, but in the aftermath, Naruto was reborn. Galactus had left, and Earth's fragile calm appeared to resume. However, the scars left in New York would not heal very soon. The oceans surrounding New York had sustained catastrophic destruction. During the intense struggle between Naruto and Galactus, large expanses of seawater evaporated, riverbeds were shattered by the planet Devourer's Warhammer attacks, and countless marine species perished in the turmoil. Buildings were destroyed in the metropolis, tsunamis surged through the streets, and the heart of New York was now submerged beneath murky, sluggish waters. Rescue and rescue crews worked around the clock, attempting to drain the flooded streets and restore order. Despite the pandemonium, few noticed a curious and worrisome development. Several marine monsters emerged quietly from the ocean, crawling ashore with strange intent. They were crabs, but not like anyone had ever seen before. Each was gigantic, their shells armored like tanks, and their beady eyes darted about, studying and analyzing their surroundings with unmatched intellect. Far across the huge Pacific Ocean, deep beneath the seas in the hidden realm of Atlantis, a blond man sat atop his throne, coldly studying the feed returned by the mechanical crabs. He was Namor Mackenzie, king of Atlantis and supreme ruler of the ocean's infinite depths. Atlantis, formerly a thriving land-based civilization, had reached unprecedented technical heights while surface humans were still struggling during the Bronze Age. Their magnificence had been immortalized even in the land-dweller Plato's old works, providing a glimmer of their former grandeur. Yet disaster hit Atlantis 10,000 years ago. A foolish monarch, blinded by his desire for forbidden power, had set off a terrible event, either divine punishment or an energy disaster, that deformed the Atlanteans and submerged their majestic metropolis beneath the water. Thus was founded the aquatic empire of Atlantis. Their technology remained well beyond anything surface humans could fathom, and their troops were supported by legions of mutant aquatic creatures. Namor, despite his strength, had long maintained a tenuous truce with the surface world. But lately, that harmony has been eroding. Humans had gotten increasingly careless, throwing massive amounts of pollution and rubbish into the oceans. And, following the recent catastrophe near New York, the damage had reached a critical point. King Namor, remarked Hybo, Namor's chief advisor, with a polite bow. Those land dwellers have gone too far. The film from the mechanical crabs proved it clearly. Piles of hazardous waste are being dumped into the already scarred oceans, contaminating the waters that Atlanteans called home. I wonder, Hybo added softly, whether it's time we taught them a lesson. He understood the king's heart well. Namor has always felt split between land and water. Born to a human father and an Atlantean mother, his complexion was the hue of the surface people, which caused him to be mocked and alienated from the day he was born. He had even lived among land people for a time. During World War II, he fought alongside Captain America against the German Navy. His ties to the land were profound. Hybo was concerned that such links might make Namor hesitate. But Namor's gaze grew darker. Hybo, he continued, his voice like thunder, my links to the earth are not as strong as you believe. They have demolished our home. It's about time they learnt the cost. With a piercing clang, he plunged the trident in his palm into the marble floor, the sound booming throughout the huge chamber like a drum. But before we act, Namor said calmly, I must first consult with the other Federation leaders. Atlantis, after all, was a loose federation of city-states, and while Namor possessed enormous power, he couldn't go to war without their backing. Understood, King Namor, Hybo replied, bowing deeply before retiring to carry out his orders. Thus, the seeds of war between sea and land began to sprout. Meanwhile, on a secluded Pacific island, the waves churned and a squad of Atlantean soldiers emerged. They went onto the island with lethal efficiency, wearing landing combat suits specialized for terrestrial warfare. Summon your leader, Hybo stated in a quiet, powerful tone. Moments later, a man appeared. Magneto, the master of magnetism and leader of the Brotherhood of Mutants, wears a billowing scarlet cape and a polished helmet. King Namor has agreed, in principle, to deploy his forces against the land, Hybo plainly stated, addressing Magneto with an unrelenting gaze. I trust you won't disappoint us. Magneto twisted his lips into a faint smile. I hope you won't disappoint me, either. In recent years, governments around the world have become increasingly hostile to mutants. Mutant registration rules, secret arrests, the writing was on the wall. Magneto was aware of an impending storm. He required a distraction, a significant enough war to draw attention away from mutants and their predicament. An Atlantean invasion of the surface world? Perfect. Magneto would buy mutant-kind time by offering intelligence and covert support to Atlantis. As the Atlanteans left, one of Magneto's attendants dashed over. Chief, he announced quickly, Colonel Stryker has submitted a new project application to Congress. Magneto's visage clouded as he heard Stryker's name. Colonel Stryker was infamous among mutants, having repeatedly expressed venomous hatred for mutants and advocated for their extinction in public and on the airwaves. He was an outright adversary of their kind. Good, Magneto replied, his voice like a sword scraping stone. When Atlantis strikes, we will ensure that Colonel Stryker is the first to fall. Recently, the world's oceans have been experiencing strange changes. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen groups of whales, covered in armor. Marine life is behaving abnormally, and tropical fish have been spotted near Greenland. Global sea levels are shifting drastically. Experts attributed to the moon's tidal forces. Despite scientific explanations, the alterations seem strange. Even if the climate warmed, how could tropical fish thrive in Arctic waters? Something weird was happening, and Naruto Uzumaki was observing it all through his numerous neural eyes. Naruto's brain center was doing simulations to enhance his space armor. But when Red Queen's voice rang through his system, he stopped the operation. The oceans are shifting, he mumbled. His V-shaped eyepiece blazed ominously as data poured into his neural network. Memories were stirred. Namor Mackenzie, King of Atlantis. Mutant. Sovereign of the Earth's oceans. A century-old ruler with the anger of youth in his heart. Though he maintained a heroic reserve, the carnage wrought by Galactus on the ocean floor had rocked it to its core. Naruto's CPU's word. The outcome was apparent. Namor seeks retaliation. Naruto spoke aloud with a casual shrug, just a minor skirmish. Deploy the Blade Unit and Sword's field agents when it begins. After defeating Galactus, Naruto didn't see Namor as a threat. An Atlantean mutant carrying a trident? It's child's play. With the scenario categorized as a low-priority alert, Naruto resumed fine-tuning the armor's internal settings. But another signal interrupted abruptly, urgent and recognizable. Dr. Doom. Naruto offloaded the computation work to his optical computers and, in a golden flash, teleported from the Skynet base to the headquarters of Sword. Doom was already there, his cape flowing slightly in the artificial breeze. Naruto, anticipating the conversation, spoke first. You and Strange are both obsessed with magic. But what if magic could be fused with what we already possess? Technology. Imagine what we could create. Doom's visage twitched, as if enthusiasm broke through his typically frigid exterior. Unlike Strange, Doom received no formal training. His magical abilities sprang from the remnants of his mother's gypsy grimoires, which were powerful but fragmented. Systematic knowledge had always eluded him. Let me know if you need any other text cleaned up. Naruto's words struck a chord. Wait, are you saying you can program magic? A brand new world just unfolded right in front of Doom's eyes. Totally. As Naruto talked, the magical patterns etched into his synthetic skin came alive. A golden magic disc appeared in his palm, changing shape and swirling with every movement of his fingers. Programming magic is super flexible and way more efficient. The disc flashed through a bunch of different shapes, showing everything from weapon designs to binding symbols. Doom just stood there, completely amazed. I'll just wrap it up there for now, Naruto said. Feel free to swing by with any questions you have. Doom nodded slowly, showing respect. The demonstration blew his mind. It was the sort of information that would take ages, maybe even years, to wrap his head around. But it was just what he had been wishing for. How's it going? Meanwhile, away from the neat environment of Naruto's labs, a new wave of chaos was starting to unfold. Baron Strucker, the final piece of Hydra's original legacy, lingered in the shadows of an old castle that time had almost forgotten. Strucker was different from the twisted Hydra that sparked World War II. He held onto the original beliefs of a dark, secretive cult that thought they were getting Earth ready for their god's return. So, after all those years of keeping things under wraps, making sacrifices, and diving into the science, Strucker finally pulled it off. The Earth shook with unexpected bursts of energy. The very fabric of space twisted and ripped close to the planet's surface. There, God had come back from a far-off, alien world. But there was something off. Strucker couldn't help but feel a bit on edge as he observed the so-called God just sitting there on a tattered velvet couch, looking hollow-eyed and completely expressionless. He matched the ancient records perfectly. His appearance was just like the images kept by Strucker's ancestors. So, about his behavior, since he got here, he hasn't said a single word. He just stayed still. He didn't ask for much, he just took it in. What he took in wasn't exactly food. Bring the offering, Strucker said, his tone icy. Two scared subordinates pulled a man along and tossed him down at the feet of the god. The god gave a quick blink. It sounds like a buzz. Little, bee-like creatures burst out from under his skin, buzzing toward the victim. The guy's scream was cut short, lasting just about 3 seconds before he was left as nothing but blood and bone. So, then the god finally spoke up for the first time. He spoke in a soft voice. Deep and throaty. Not human. Strucker's eyes grew wide. This was definitely real. There's no symbolic god. This was something much worse, and it was back. In Baron Strucker's view, the figure he referred to as God was actually an ancient and incredibly powerful inhuman. So, his name is Hive. Let's start by discussing the experiments the Kree did on Earth to get a better grasp of Hive. A group of Kree, looking to make some top-notch fighters, well, more like disposable troops, for their never-ending space battles, kicked off a project on Earth called the Inhuman Warriors Program. They played around with primitive human DNA, tweaking it to create a whole new race, the Inhumans. So, Hive, that was their very first creation. Back in the day, the early Inhumans saw Hive as a living god, someone with total power and control. He had a ton of power and just radiated this natural vibe of control, something the Kree set up to keep things in check with their test subjects. Even with all the admiration, the Kree saw Hive as just a fancy servant. So, it turns out that when the Kree started having their own issues here on Earth and decided to ditch the whole Inhuman project, that's when Hive saw his chance to make a move. Free from the control of his creators, Hive transformed from a mere servant into the leader of the Inhumans. But power went to their head pretty fast. The urge to take charge, which had been held back under the Kree's control, burst out into the open. When Hive started tightening his grip on the Inhumans, a lot of them decided it was time to stand up and fight back. A group of strong Inhumans came together and figured out how to send Hive away to a far-off, empty alien planet. So here we are, centuries later, Baron Strucker has brought him back. The Hive had been stuck on its own for such a long time that it was almost like it had lost its mind. Feeling starved and a bit lost in his thoughts, he craved a human connection to help him heal his body and clear his mind. Food, Hive said again, his voice soft and eerie. All right, go ahead and find more humans, Baron Strucker said. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? The top floor of the Avengers Tower in New York was pumping with loud music. Stark was deep in his lab, absorbed in a complex piece of tech, nodding along to the music. "Excuse me, sir," Jarvis chimed in, cutting through the heavy bass. "Jarvis, how many times do I have to say this? Just don't interrupt me when I'm in the zone. Especially when I've got some good music playing," Stark said, still focused on his work. "Tony, you're still as tireless as ever," said a familiar voice. Stark took a moment to stop and think. "Reed, did you get into it with Susan again? I mean, I've mentioned this before. Marriage can put a damper on love. And you jumped in so early." Reed Richards let out a sigh and rolled his eyes. "Oh, no, I didn't fight with Susan. I actually wanted to chat with you about something important." "Oh, let me guess. Your research ran into a bit of a snag, and now you're here looking for help from the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist?" Stark said with a grin, taking a sip of his juice. Reed just let the sarcasm slide. He was pretty used to it by now. Instead, he pulled up some data on a holographic screen. "Tony, have you been keeping up with the global news? There's something weird going on in the oceans around the world." "Jarvis, what's going on with this?" Stark asked, squinting at the footage that was now playing on the screen. "I share the world news with you every morning, but it seems like you never tune in. I even put it on your to-do list, and guess what? It's 83% still not done." Stark's face turned bright red. "Really? That many?" As he looked over the data Reed had brought, his expression shifted to a serious one. "Weird things are happening with the ocean lately. Sea levels are on the rise. Changes in ocean creatures. It just didn't add up when you looked at it from an environmental perspective." "Sir," Jarvis chimed in again, "I hate to break it to you, but our satellite systems just picked up a global tsunami outbreak." The holographic screen in the room flickered to life, displaying huge tidal waves crashing through the oceans, dragging tons of debris along, and heading straight for New York. "There's no way that's natural," Stark said quietly. "Let me go take a look." The floor panels opened up, and bits of Iron Man's armor zoomed out, magnetically coming together around him. With a burst of orange-red energy from his repulsors, Stark zoomed into the sky like a comet, heading straight for the shoreline. Reed watched him leave and let out a sigh, always so impatient. Reed hopped into a nearby Quinjet, fired up its systems, and zoomed off after Stark, making a beeline for the center of the chaos. "I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today?" When they finally got there, the tsunami had already hit the city. Massive waves had washed a bunch of trash right onto the streets of New York. Plastic bags, broken cars, bottles, tires, and old electronics. Every type of trash you can think of has now taken over the city like a wave of decay. Interestingly, the tsunami didn't cause much physical damage to the buildings. The real devastation was in the chaos. New York has turned into a trash city. "How's it looking over there?" Reed's voice came through the comms. Stark floated above the flooded streets, taking in the view around him. "I can't spot any direct damage, just a whole lot of garbage." "Seriously, tons of it?" He frowned then. A weird thought popped into his head, an uneasy feeling that this was something beyond just a natural occurrence or a random environmental disaster. "This kind of feels like a warning," Stark said quietly. "Just a quick message." "A message?" Reed inquired. "Yeah," Stark said with a serious tone. "It feels like someone is making a statement. A declaration. It's aimed at us. At the people on the ground. All right, everyone, it's time to take a stand against those surface dwellers. Let's show them what Atlantis is made of." Namor's voice echoed through the depths, rallying his followers. Namor's army of armored sea creatures stood in perfect formation, looking impressive as their king took a moment to inspect them. Behind him, huge water-powered steel warships sparkled in the soft, glowing light of the deep-sea plants. In the last few months, Namor has brought together the ocean's federated clans for one main reason: to fight back. Humans on the surface had crossed the line. Their pollution choked the seas. They just couldn't get enough when it came to expanding. They were looking for more land, more resources, more power. When Namor brought up the idea of making a statement, the undersea nations all jumped in right. While Namor was pacing through the ranks, His top aide Hybo swam up next to him. "Your Majesty, we spotted a surface-dwelling submarine nearby. Should we go after it?" Namor smiled, his lip curling up slightly. "How lucky are we? Let's have them as our opening act. Let's show them what happens when they wander into our territory." He waved his hand, and one of the nearby warships took off, cutting through the waters toward the target they had spotted. A little way from where the undersea army was, a submarine floated quietly, looking like a shiny metal ball. Inside, two figures were keeping an eye on the sonar and energy readings: Doom and Spider-Man. The mission was straightforward, just some recon work. "Take a look at how much Atlantis is ramping up its military and let me know what you find." But things never stayed simple for too long, did they? Spider-Man was sitting there, fidgeting in this cool, deep-diving suit, and you could only see his face through this clear mask with a spider logo on it. His voice came through the comms, a bit muffled. "So, Doom. This iron death trap you built isn't going to blow up on us, right?" Doom shot him a side eye, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Mr. Frankenstein Spider, I actually built this vessel myself. But honestly, with that silly bubble helmet, you seem like you're just waiting for it to go wrong." Spider-Man waved, pointing to his mask. "So, you've got these magic portals, huh? If things go south, you can just poof out of here. Meanwhile, I'm like a spider stuck in a washing machine. Ever seen a spider try to swim?" Doom had a sly grin on his face. "It's not my issue anymore. Honestly, I've just made up my mind that if this sub goes down, you're going to have to handle it by yourself." "That's not cool," Spider-Man said, waving a finger at him. "If the commander finds out you ditched me, you're gonna be stuck with latrine duty on the helicarrier for a whole month." Even with all the bickering, there was a certain comfort between the two now. Doom had slowly gotten used to things since he joined the Sharp Blade Squad. He wasn't the distant ruler of Latveria anymore. He had been pulled, reluctantly, into the wild camaraderie of the team. How could anyone possibly stay all moody in a team with chatterboxes like Pietro and Spider-Man around? So there were Rogers and his old war buddies, throwing around corny jokes like they were grenades. Doom had found a way to adapt, or, to put it another way, he crafted his own unique style of sarcastic venom just to get by. Once the teasing died down, Spider-Man took off his breathing mask and leaned back comfortably. "You know, I feel like Commander Naruto isn't taking these Atlanteans seriously. If he were, he'd probably be down here cleaning up the ocean floor with them himself." It wasn't only Spider-Man who felt that way. The whole Sharp Blade Squad could feel Naruto's lack of concern about the water danger. Doom typed away at the keyboard, bringing up the live readings. "You know, Naruto might have bigger things on his plate right now. And let's be real, the Atlanteans aren't a big deal. Their power is all underwater. Once they hit land, they're stuck with those oxygen suits. And even then," he shook his head. "So, what's the deal? Are they thinking about invading New York?" Out of nowhere, the inside of the submarine was filled with the loud wail of red sirens. Alarms blared from the control panel. "They're here," Doom said, his fingers dancing over the controls. A sleek, menacing undersea warship was zooming in quickly on the screen. "It's time for a little surprise," Doom said with a smirk, his gloved hand hitting a button with a thud. "Target locked. Should we launch the attack?" the ship's AI asked in a cool tone. "What's on your mind? Just go for it," Doom said. Spider-Man could feel the vessel buzzing with energy. A missile, glowing blue, zipped out from its forward launcher, racing through the dark waters like a bolt of lightning. He leaned in closer to the display while he was still talking. "Doom, are you sure that'll—" He couldn't get the words out. Outside, the missile hit the Atlantean ship and destroyed it. "It's not dented. It's all good, not damaged at all. It's gone." The ocean suddenly glowed with a quick burst of bright plasma, and then, everything went quiet. Spider-Man's jaw just dropped behind his mask. "Doom, what on earth did you just shoot?" Doom kicked back with a grin. "So, here's the deal. I brought a bigger spider. Stay tuned for more." Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.